Alright, now we are doing a little bit of a CG thing. Now, I've been scouring the internet and they say that the CG is 5 millimeters. Oh, sorry about the schmag on my screwdriver. 5 millimeters in front of this hole. My halogen light is a bit bright, so I've reduced a little bit. But anyways, I poked a hole 5 millimeters in front of that hole, because that's where it supposedly is. Okay? The center. Now, what I'm going to use, I'm going to use these are these things that come with the hair ties that I was talking about. These are it's like a little plastic hook, S-hook. I'm going to sink it directly in here. But I'm not sure I want to do that just quite yet, because I want to maybe take the other wing that I have, because they give you 2 of these things. And I'm going to take the other wing and maybe put some weight in it and see if that actually is the center of gravity. Take it out and glide test it. Do what the Nazis used to do. Just glide test a model. So I might leave that alone just to make sure. I'm not quite sure yet. To think about that. So I need to think of something else to do. Maybe I'll wire the ESC in. That's got to go in. That's going to be weight in the back. That's the recess for the battery. And put the other servo in. I want to do the GPS next, but I'm not sure where to put it. Then of course there's the CG thing. So I don't know, maybe here, maybe right there. I don't want to put it too far away because I'm going to run wires. So maybe I'll put the GPS here, and the receiver antenna here. I keep those away from each other because 2.4, it's another thing. Sometimes it's a crapshoot to get things to work. You plug it all in and you're like, holy crap, the GPS isn't working. It's because it's getting flooded by the 2.4 antenna. So I'll sit down and think about what I'm going to do. Coming along. Now I also have some new horns that I dug out of my bazillions of stuff I have. Small micro horns. Maybe I can use those instead. Have to take a look at the other ones. They go here, but I don't want to stick up too far. Maybe I could push it through from the inside. Then you would have a plate on the opposite. That's probably what I'll do. So I got a million parts because I've been building model airplanes for 40 years now. 40. Anyways. Okay. Now I've got some ideas on equipment placement after studying this thing for quite some time. So I've removed a few wires from the flight controller. Servos are in. Of course, the servo leads are too long. At first, I was going to plug, I got to have a main power bus, of course, so I was going to use the balance plug as the charging plug. Or no, not the charging, the main bus that goes to the speed control. Okay, and of course the speed control I've wired. I got the signal wire, and this red wire is a 3.3 volt that just happens to come off this thing, and it's for LED lights. I may be able to use it, I don't know, but I'm going to have to run another ground. There it is, ground. And these two together will run 3.3. I have a few things that are 3.3 on this, which will be, of course, the compass and the Pico GPS unit that I have, which has been wired also. Okay. That's 3.3. That must be on 3.3 or you will smoke it for sure. Okay. Also, the strobe unit, which now I've decided is too big. I have a smaller unit and I'm going to dig out of another project, and I'll just replace that one with this one because it's a bigger project. I need a smaller one. It's just the form factor is not good enough for me. Just too much, too big. Of course, here is the lead that plugs into this plug here, and we have one of them is this is VCC, okay, voltage, okay, it comes off the main bus, which is going to be, I'll discuss that. And the other one is current. I do believe it is this guy, and of course ground. And those plug into here. I'm going to use all silicone wires for this plane too, because they're very thin, very small. That's what you need. Try to keep everything as small as possible, but it takes thought, it takes forethought to plan this. And it's like, well, am I doing it right? Am I not doing it right? Now this, of course, is the shunt, and I've decided not to unsolder this because I can fit it. And this comes, so I'm going to stick another XT-30 on this guy. It's going to come from this line here, and I'm going to relieve some of this foam here, and I'm going to place him right there, which will be perfection. And then the main power line goes from this to the speed control, which will be the two right and the left, okay, far right, far left. Of course, all three of these move on there. I was going to try to place this inside of this bay here, but that means I'm going to have to relieve more foam, make it flat, and that's okay, because it wouldn't have worked, because I was trying to make it so that the main power line, I was going to extend it, put it here to plug in, because you got to have a way to plug the battery in and take it out conveniently. And the best place to do that is going to be right here next to this line. And not only that, but the pickup for the current is the eye right there. And that's the ground, okay? And then I don't have to dick around with, you know, unsoldering this and that, whatever. So this will be placed, I'm going to shorten this guy, put an XT-30 on him, and he's going to go right there. So that when I decide I want to fly, all I have to do is put the battery in and slide that in, and we got power. Okay? And that's good. That's the best way to do it, I feel. Magnets are in for the canopy. Canopy, I have come up with a couple of good ideas too. Another few good ideas. Of course, I still have to do the relieving for the camera. I can figure out what's top and bottom for the camera, of course. I found a piece of screen that will go perfectly over the top of this guy, just like that. Okay, so we'll give it a little bit of blackness. It's from an old fan unit. Yeah, there it goes. Old squirrel fan, cage fan, something. And that'll go like that. That'll give me my cooling for this. I don't know if I'm going to sink it into the foam. Probably not. I may make a mylar scoop for it. I may not. I haven't decided yet. I may keep it simple and light is the motto that you want to try to uphold here. Let's see. The GPS. This is the GPS, which I did not undo because it's micro soldering. I'm not going to mess with that line. I'm going to leave that alone. But like I said, this is powered on 3.3. Okay, TX line's always green for me. Okay, and I'm thinking about putting it out here, and then I'm going to cut a tunnel through the foam wing with an old epoxy brush. I'm gonna put some teeth on here by jamming a razor blade, carpet knife, make some teeth, come in from this side, right there, and I will hollow that out, make some foam, or make a foam hole, whatever, get a little divot out of it in order to run the lines. Maybe, I'm not sure yet. I might. Or I could put this guy out a little further and I can just indent into the foam, have mylar covered for airfoil, and then take the lines and run the lines through here and down through the same place that the servo lead goes, because this guy goes inside there, this hole, and then yeah, I could probably dig that out a little bit. It seems to be reasonably thick there, and I can run 4 more wires and then just cover it with tape or spack or something. Now also I've made the CG on this plane is it says 5 millimeter from the front of this square hole here. So I've measured that out, poked holes. That's where that's going to go. My hooks that I'm going to hang it from in order to balance it. which is coming up. That's coming up. Okay, because I have to have a balance on it in order to determine if I'm going to have to add any weight to it, which I don't want to do. It would be probably will be okay to a certain extent, because the heavier it is, believe it or not, the more stable it will be. In a sense, it won't be all over the place. But even though it's going to have a little bit more weight on it, it will still, it's small, you know. The best time to fly this thing will be probably after a rainstorm, believe it or not, because that's when the wind is the calmest. But if you go up higher, different levels, you have different directions and different wind speeds, believe it or not. So this guy's going to go out here like this, most likely, because this GPS line is facing this way, was the logic. And this is the receiver line, and it's thick silicone. So, but I can put the receiver anywhere I want, really, with this line like this. But I'm trying to determine where, and with minimal amount of, you know, angst. So I could feed it underneath the flight controller, make it come out here and do the same thing. There's enough line where it will go, say, out to here. And that way I keep the receiver away from the GPS, and the GPS and the receiver are both away from the antenna that will be on the Walksnail. And there's the UFT or whatever they call it, connector. And that's going to be this guy. And I'm probably just going to have to heat this up with a heat gun or a hair dryer and it a few times to take up the slack, because you can't cut. I could cut it, but I don't have any of these laying around. Splice it. And I'm going to do this, and I'll probably stick it right there. Okay. Now, I guess what's right side up on this thing? I guess that's right side up. How I'm going to stick it there? I'll probably just stick it with some glue. I could probably put an aerodynamic fairing on it also. I don't know. I don't want to make it complicated. I'm going to sink this down a little bit more, and I'm going to relieve for the binding button, that right there, and burn a hole through the screen too. You know, I got to make some way to bind everything, and then there's a software upgrade whenever, and so I'll have to relieve this a little bit too to get at that. And the wiring, that's going to be a challenge, but I think it will be pretty much easy to do. Because, well, there's plenty, but I got to make a little bit of an extension. The video feed for the flight controllers is here, so I'm going to probably get some regular DuPont connector, you know, the wire part of the DuPont connector, and I'm just going to solder them into these. Which, you know, you have video switch. There's the VTx. There's a ground. There's 5 volt. Then it says camera and VBAT ground. Okay. So we have all that lined up there. So I figure if I have the plugs vertical, I can just stick regular, because see, if you look at this, I'm only going to have so much space here. And I don't want wires floating around in here. So I might be able to vertically, it's going to be to be determined, because I don't know if it's going to stick up too high. I don't know yet. And if I have to, I'll just make wires going straight up from here, because there's only so much room between the flight controller. I may be able to relieve a little bit more up front to drag things forward, because I can tell you that they're inherently tail heavy, as I said, and it might be better to shift the battery back and forth to, you know, once you get an idea of where the weight and balance is going to be. Okay. So, and of course the propeller is going to be a certain amount of weight, plus there's going to be 2 metal screws. That's going to bring some weight back here. The speed controller, everything is in grams, you know, so it's going to make a difference. You may not think so, but it will. Weight adds up quickly. That's going to put some weight behind the CG, because the CG's around here, I would say, right this spar. Anything you put past there is going to be detrimental. So you want to try to avoid that as much as possible. So it's coming along. And I'm going to, of course, like I said before, I'm going to attach the camera, and it's going to stay on the top of the canopy for convenience. And this will, I'm going to have to make sure that it doesn't bump into this guy, because if it does, that means I'm going to have to relieve this and pull it forward a little bit to give it some more slack. And it might be better that the camera's back, because the first time the lens was sticking out pretty far when I was doing my adjustments, and that's not good, because, you know, you landed, it's going to smack the camera, you know. So the further back the better. But you can't go past a certain point, because the field of view will show this. You don't want that. So there you have it. And it is coming together. I'm going to get my strobes flashed. That's going to be probably one of the last things. I'm going to get them working. And that, like I said, is going to go down the leading edge. Where I'm going to put the flasher, I don't know. I may put it on this side. It's small. It's about the size of the speed controller, maybe a little bit thinner, but about the same length. And so you want to have as clean of an installation as possible. Okay, you don't want wires everywhere. Big wires are being extra weight. I've seen guys' installations on some of these and some quads and stuff, and it's sloppy. And I've done, sloppy work too, but on this thing, you're going to have to be really careful. Really super careful on it. And if it's nose heavy, which I'm doubting, I will put another fin on the bottom here, right here, just to add a little bit of weight to the tail to make it functional in order to protect the propeller for when it lands. These are only going to, the tips are only going to be able to do so much. Got a little thing to hold it up on now. That's kind of cool. Keep the shop rash down. And so I think the next time that I do a video, I'm going to have a lot of this stuff placed because I have a lot of work to do now that I've got the planning down. And these are digital servos too, and they're a little bit weird, a little bit wonky. This one's a little bit wonky with that one, and I don't like that. I'm a scratch builder, so I like to have things, I have some scratch built projects. If you look at my channel, you'll see there's a Horton wing that I have not finished, and I promised myself that the next thing that I build, once I get a garage or I get a building room, I'm going to finish that thing. And I'm going to put a Walksnail in that, because I have always wanted to fly a real Horton. Wouldn't that be freaking cool? Alrighty, this is what I've got so far. Took a little bit of time, but came out okay. I'm gonna have to redo my light because it's a halogen. It's a little bit too bright. I have another one in the works, much easier. Alright, now what I've done is I've got a few things placed here. I have the speed controller. Okay. Speed controller is in. I got a heat shrink on it. I've S-turned the wires that go to the motor. I put a piece of blue in this to insulate because if it was to push against the screws, we'd have a short. I'm going to glue this in here shortly, and that will be pretty much permanently in there. I've relieved the bottom of these to put this in. Now, after looking at the flight controller, of course, the right here is where the connections for the receiver will be, and I'm considering there, because they're so darn small, I might just put it in the top of this thing, which would be kind of cool. I got to make it accessible, of course, because you got to have any firmware upgrades. So this goes here, just like that. Okay, and I probably only glue it in the corners so you can still peel it off. Maybe one there after everything's finalized. Okay, ELRS most likely. If not, I'm having an issue because I think I might not have a 3 transmitter receiver UARTs for this. So I got to review everything. I think I can do ELRS through this. This is a setup for FR Sky. I'm not sure. So, but anyways, the flight controller now it sits okay like this. Of course, the wires go up underneath. So everything worked out good. All these other additional wires are that are here. Let me describe them. We have these wires, this is the current. This goes to the flight controller current. This is a ground that goes to the flight controller for current. The red here is like I said before, a red and black. I have another ground that comes off of here because the speed controller puts out 3.3 volts regulated, I guess. I got to test it, make sure, because I can use 3.3, step down already, but I don't know if there's going to be any noise coming off the ESC. If I use it, I'm not sure. GPS line is this one. I may desolder it and put some silicone lines on here. They're a lot less stiff. Of course, the plug goes in here like this. There's everything's color coded. Blue is current. This is VCC. Now the way I'm going to plug everything is basically it's going to be just these regular old DuPont plugs, but without the plastic housing, and you're going to sheet shrink them, and that's the best way to do that. Okay, I'm going to probably make a bus for the servos. Okay, there's going to be 4. Okay, it's 1, 2, one for the speed controller, of course, and then one more to activate the strobes. That's what that's going to be. Okay, so let's see. The battery. I think my battery's going to die on my camera, so I have to do this fast. The battery fits here like this, of course. I clipped off the JST. I'm going to detach here, and this battery this lines are going to be connected into here. That's going to be the plug for the main power. Okay. This guy, I don't know what I might use him for, but they sell these batteries with 3 different connectors because you can connect 3 different models. You know, whatever they're made for, who knows. But I may just not use this at all. But I'm not sure yet. But I got to get rid of the wires. This guy here, this is what I may use for a step down. Okay, this will probably be on the right side over here, which will be running things at 5 or 6 volts for the servos, 5.5, 4.8 to 5.5. And then I have positive, negatives. So I'm going to shorten the line, drag it over here, just like I did this. And then this guy will go in here like this so that everything can be attached and detached. Okay. Plus I will also, if I use that in that manner, in order either to connect this or to make a bus for the servos, I will be able to retain this connector for balance. Okay. So there you have it. Now I've also relieved the inside, not there, here for the camera, and everything seems to fit very well. I've figured out that the camera goes in with the ribbon cable side basically down. Okay, so that's the way that goes. I just got to glue that in and fasten this down, make sure the battery doesn't hit, and I think that's pretty much it for now. As far as one more thing that I have to do, this cover keeps coming off, but I want to protect my lens, so I got to keep using it. I'm going to cut some holes. Okay, like I said, I have to cut holes in the wings because of the Pico. So this guy's probably going to go out here like this, I would figure. Okay, and the way I'm going to cut a hole is going to be with this old epoxy brush handle. And what you do is you take a carpet knife and you just go all the way around, and you cut like ridges on it, and it makes kind of like a blade. Then I will go probably from here and dig here and go this way and probably come to there, I would say. Instead of having to dig a hole, I would just rather cut a slot from the Pico GPS to there, and then go down and do the hole, and then there into the flight controller. And I think that's pretty much it. And like I said, I may put the receiver back here. If I do that, that would keep everything, all the wires short, and everything will be nice and neat. I won't have to cut another hole over there. But then I might have an out of balance condition because this thing will be off to the side, and you have to balance your wings laterally also, not just fore aft, but also like this. And that way you don't get, and if I have to add a little bit of lead to compensate this on this side, no problem. Or maybe I'll put the strobe thing over here. It's about the same weight, I would say. The other one I haven't shown that yet, but I will. Right? And then I've got to figure out if I can hook up ELRS to the original S bus. I think it goes there. I'm not sure, but if it goes to a TXRX, I got to look and see if there's another software or a firmware for this flight controller. I'm going to investigate that right now. And I got a few more other things to do, like of course I got to cut the relief hole for the bind button here, and I got to force that down a little bit more, and this is probably going to be the best thing to put over it. So once I get this switch down, I'll be able to put this over, and it'll go on there very nicely. And the scoop, probably not. Although if it got wet, it probably wouldn't be good. But whatever. I don't want to silicone conform it, because that's stuff I heard sometimes doesn't work very well. And then of course I got to relieve this side for this plug for firmware updates. And there's the connector, which I got to make an extension. I might have a receiver plug for that. And because everything, you have to make sure that you can get things off and do what you need to do, put it back on, yada yada. Okay, and so you have to think it out. And the battery is the most important thing, because you got to be able to remove it, and then you want to be able to, if you're having fun flying, you want to make more than one. I have another one. Oops, somewhere, another one. Crazy Pony, whoever that is. And that's it. And then after that, there's just the antenna, and a few of the other things like servo horns and whatever else I want to do, propeller, and then start configuring. So we're good. We're good.